for both of these teams to try out a lot of different things here. Busan, Havana, Eichenwald kick things off. Horizon and Ilios, if necessary, at the back half.
Will they be necessary?
I think maybe one of them will be.
Oh.
I think the series, look, when a series is like this and it's kind of split down the middle and both teams are in the same kind of realm as a team, right? Same kind of area in terms of power rankings. You have a lot of 50-50 games, right? With the way that the meta is shaken out with hero pools, you know, you could get counter-stratted pretty hard. Something you do may not work. You could lose a map like that. So I think like you're looking at like a 4-gamer, 5-gamer potentially.
So these teams' adaptation in between weekends was tested. Now it'll be in-game tested. Make some noise. We're out of the gates on Busan.
Yes.
And the Justice are going with the
Jerry, the McCree Widowmaker Torbjorn specialist here.
Works the same way.
As Boston comes out, they're going to play very, very slow, very point-oriented, just playing around the Orisa, the Torb, the Mei, very stationary. And this is a direct counter to what the Washington Justice are trying to do. As you see, Roar dives on in, not really a chance to live there against what the Boston Uprising are bringing out.
I mean, fair enough. The Justice are trying to bear hug a cactus against this composition. It is tough. They want some protection of some sort. Jerry's turret goes down, but Mufin's able to finish the job as those hyperspheres go bouncing around the corner.
And this is where, if you're the Justice, you have to consider moving off of this straight away. This is why it's so important to have versatile players. Right now, as you're going to see, 76 Hanzo come into play. Aurora played the Orisa, so you could have went with something like this. You could have played a Hanzo with a Pharah Mercy, but they decide to go with this form of a comp, some consistent damage with the 76 and the Hanzo, burst down the shields, get the Torbjorn moving, right? When the Torbjorn's moving, not able to just plant the turrets and stand still, that's when he's very susceptible to damage.
Roar again takes an absolute shellacking. It has to be the Immortality field deployed to keep him up. That's now been removed. Okay, Amplification Matrix is thrown down. Corey's brave enough to stand in front of it for a time, and he comes straight down. He's able to get healed up though. Nicely done. They've got an arc to keep him up, but unfortunately too many casualties already on the side of the Justice, and this Sigma play is filthy.
And I mean, Jerry falls early, but he's able to get the Molten Core off, and it's able to take out 2 players, so you get good value with that. He will stay on Torbjorn. As you know, they've had great control of the choke here. It's very difficult for the Justice to make any forward progress.
Blizzard and Supercharger are both available, and this looks comfortable for Boston, Matt. They dare the Justice to come to them.
What's also interesting about the composition for the Boston Uprising is the Lucio in play. Able to keep them mobile, move around the map. That'll be Aim God at the start of this fight getting a pick.
Matt, they needed that Aim God. Again, showing us some of the prowess we got to see last year.
But the Blizzard comes down, you can't push through this. Another wall comes out, now you're just buying more time.
They have no Elevote to work with either. Supercharger was used, so was that Blizzard. So the Justice Force ults out, but it is go time now.
But Jerry's already back. Just the Blizzard and the Mei wall just buys enough time, then is scary enough that you've delayed.
Dunberry comes out, gonna push straight into Roar, and he's got very little defense. Somehow they got an Immortality field down there. Mufin is gonna dispatch that quickly though when Corey falls by the wayside. It has to be Elevo desperately making a foray onto the point, but you can see he is completely surrounded. A Dragon Strike from Spawn, that's wishful thinking from Stratus, and the Molten Core will canvas the point. Roar had no help. No one on the Justice really did, and that'll be the first round to the Interlopers.
It is quiet in here.
You don't seem mad enough. You're really not.
It's
show me some emotion.
I mean, Boston, they're laughing, right? I mean, they come out, they rock the Torbjorn, they punish the Justice on that first point. I mean,
get out! Oh my!
Moving, he's chilling, man. There's, what do you see now change? Can you play Torbjorn again here? Don't think so. I think you're going to see a massive change from the Justice. We'll see though if Boston decides to make some changes as well. That you look at Jerry on the Sinatraa here. Sinatra's not really like a pick on a point like this. Too much open space. Potentially just using it as a teleporter out of the spawn without a Lucio at the start, and then make a switch. So Jerry will show us his Tracer here at the start, where both of these teams are pretty close to a mirror. It's just the addition of Brigitte versus having Aim God on the offense.
What does that mean?
And the Zen as well, so difference in both supports. Well, AimGod's going to try and obviously play this at range, right? The Zen is the composition we saw a little bit earlier in our first series, where you can play the Zen and the Brig, you get a little bit extra damage. It's more of a really strong commitment to the dive.
Corey trying to work around the fringes here. He's managed to work fusions pretty low, and that will elicit a response. He gets on out. And the Justice now are in a good position to take the point just by getting a damage advantage early. It's unlikely Boston just let him get away with it, but that's the point already. Boston now want to get this fight done quickly if they're going to do it at all. The point ticks up. AimGod is a safe spot, and that nano boost is right around the corner. It looks like he sends it over towards Raw, who is discorded, by the way. Is knocked back. Nice whip shot there from Halo. Keep him off of the back line, but Jerry goes down as cat and mouse, and this time Tom comes out the victor. On the point goes Fusions, big EMP, 4 players on the Justice there without their abilities, but the follow-up has to be there. Fusions is trying to get the damage to stick, trying to chase Elevo down, then D-Suit assisted by the Discord Orb will do the job.
And Boston gets control of the point here, so Washington get like 10% here early on, but now you have Boston in clear control of this point. It's a Color Hex EMP, connects with 4 players, ends up turning the tide. But now if you're Boston, you're able to hold on to both support ultimates through this. You have your Pulse Bomb, you have your Primal Rage. So you expect to get a good chunk of percentage here out of that retake.
Stratus close to an EMP of his own. And you notice that Jerry was just sitting on the other side of the wall from him there. He reveals himself, wants to bait Fusions in perhaps. Is there a way to punish the Winston for that? Doesn't look like it. At least the EMP is now online. Stratus is also doing his own kind of spy checking for Color Hex.
But you can play pretty far away here if you're the Boston supports, and as long as you get a Transcendence or a Rally off, they're going to go both with a Self-Destruct to keep everybody alive. That's a lot of investment there from Boston.
The reactive EMP from Stratus, though, it only actually catches on a Fusion, so I guess they force some ultimates out.
But a 1-for-3 ultimate change right there.
Oh, Raw. Oh, he's Discord. He was also hacked. He couldn't jump. He was sat there just swinging his fists in vain. That must be frustrating. The Justice now trying to capture the point. A little bit low on numbers, though, and that's a 5-player EMP. There has to be follow-up, though. Jerry needs to be the one now to find these kills. Elevate's a little bit low off towards the side. You can see Stratus spends a lot of time actually outside of stealth, just getting off percentage, but now they strike the dynamic duo, deal with Color Hex.
And the main issue with the comp that Boston's running is where like Muffin got really low on the point. There's no way to burst heal him back up, like no real big healing, especially if you don't have like your Brigitte armor packs available, but there's like a heal over time. So you have to back out in that situation.
At all for Boston.
Yep. You don't have anything like a nano boost or a biotic grenade, anything that Ana provides in her kit. You're really playing this around for Boston with the extra Zen damage, being able to burst some of these players down.
Stratus was hoping to manually hack Halo there so he wouldn't get stunned while going for an EMP. That didn't pan out, so we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Corey! Oh, dear! Mufin's able to chase him down. 97% on ultimate now for the Boston Uprising Diva, and it is 54% and counting for Washington. Biotic grenade is enough to force Mufin back, but look at that, they bait Elevo into a concave and leap upon him. AimGod from the periphery is able to find the finish on Fusion, so both teams lose initiating tanks. And now Raw has to be extra careful, but he's hacked, and then he's EMP'd. So much time without the ability to jump away, Matt.
Oh, and I mean, you get EMP'd, plus the other team comes through with a Transcendence. There's really nothing you can do against that, as Arc, he'll end up getting hit with a Discord Orb. They jump right on top of him. You lose your break here. It's just going to be on Elevo to keep this in OT.
It's going to be tough. No doubt about it. D-suited there. Reinforcements are on the way. AimGod is Discord as he tries to approach or tries to get some healing on Raw, but there's just too much damage coming his way. It's just a matter of seconds that he keeps the point going for. Jerry waiting for someone to come around the flank and finish them, but it's not going to be enough for the Boston Uprising. We questioned, what do their hero pools look like? Do they have gas in the tank? And oh dear, crowd not happy about that.
I mean, they looked great there in map number 1. I mean, Jerry puts together one. It has to be playing in the back of their minds, right? A lot of pressure playing in front of your home crowd at times. Thinking back to week 1 when NYXL, they lost like a map early on, and everyone was kind of worried. I did the interview with Mano, and he was like, hey, we were just really nervous with like how much the crowd reaction is. And knowing the players on the Justice, the Justice organization, everybody put together, they want to win so bad for these fans that it's a lot of extra added pressure, right? So We'll see if they can. I think one map really changes the dynamics. You get a map under your belt, crowd starts to get behind you, you spin it around pretty quick.
And you can't tell me the Justice aren't a team that thrives on building momentum, especially with impact players like Corey on the roster. Also, AimGod, I also felt was very sort of prone to that. He's quite pitchy at times, you know, streaky, I guess you could say, with the Boston Uprising. But when he's on, I mean, his name is a really apt one. And on the Zenyatta, he will take those solo kills.
We'll see what Boston decides to come out and run. Really, the story here is the defense is already set. This is very similar to what we saw the Justice run on Control.
Jerry on Sombra.
Interesting. So Sombra May, you know, you talk about two heroes who can really, really be a nuisance for the other team, right? Okay. You're trying to like not dodge the May wall. You're also getting hacked, like.
These are two high utility heroes, ones that we don't normally see racking up a ton of final blows. So is there enough damage?
Now look, you have D.Va. D.Va has high damage.
Range.
Orisa can put down consistent damage. They try and get Brawly and dive, which is what they want to do. Now you start to kind of Brigitte, right? Brigitte can do damage, heal, stun, knock away. You start to play a game where, like, okay, what's the win condition here for the Justice? Like, if you dive, you're kind of playing into their hands. If you sit back, you're allowing Jerry space to potentially pick off one of these supports, really looking at AimGod. So it's a very difficult position for the Justice to play out.
Mufen, painfully aware, I think, of Corey just trying to harass his backline. Multiple times he's had to turn his head and give a defense matrix to
But as long as you play around the May and the Brigitte, like, your supports should be pretty good if you're the Boston Uprising.
And almost getting hacked there, able to catch a interrupt on towards the enemy Sombra with the micro rockets. Boston Uprising are actually kind of backing up. They've left the payload. What are they looking for? Why did they take the foot off the gas?
They want the dive to come in. Like, that's the play here. They want the aggression to come in. Yes, and that it's exactly. It's why I said it's such a difficult position for the Justice to play out of, because they need to be the aggressive team with the pump they have. We have an EMP that goes off, and Corey gets one. But how much longer can you play this game, right? You have to play a very close to perfect for the Justice to come out on top.
So Boston actually, roles are almost reversed. Boston are attacking, but are playing like a team that defends or wants to be reactive. They want to provoke Washington into being the ones.
Well, who does Stratus hack, right? You hack the D.Va, you still have the issue of the Brigitte and the May. You hack the Brigitte, you still have the issue of the May and the D.Va. Like, there's not a great target.
Okay, Sleeping Elevo on the high ground. Hard really for Boston to do anything about that. Raw constantly jumping away from Boston, not towards them. They still need to stand on the payload though, so Raw trudges back, says, okay, I guess meat's back on the menu, boys. Fusion gets rid of Raw. Jerry standing inside the booster, and Mufen gets over the top with a bomb, and that'll be it. The Justice wiped off the point.
But look at that. I mean, Corey's trying to go into the backline, put pressure on Myungbong, but he then gets stunned by Halo, bashed away, gets down to like no HP. The payload is then making its way towards the checkpoint, and what happens? The Justice have to contest. They walk directly into an EMP, they walk into a rally, a supercharger, and that allows Boston to save a Blizzard. The next time they dive in, guess what? You have a nano boost for sustain, you have a Blizzard to prevent that dive from coming on through.
Who gets nano?
And the Justice, you're going to have to invest a lot to be able to stop the card.
I think the Nano D.Va is potentially quite powerful for Mufen if he can go try and hunt AimGod down, but Elivote gets rid of Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can nano the D.Va, you can nano the Brig, the May.
Don't
a lot
nano
of
the Brig.
decent options.
That's gross. Corey, as you can see there, one of our 2019 role stars. We're looking for a pulse bomb connection. Definitely needs to live up to the pedigree that he displayed last season.
The positive here for the Justice is you're building up a war chest of ultimates, right? You'll have all 6 across the board. So as long as you just don't kind of blow them all in one fight, you have an opportunity to get a stop here. But they go with an EMP at the first, and it's actually going to be Stratus who gets taken out right after.
Stratus was forced to use the EMP then. That was a really great collapse on towards the Sombra. Stratus was in the top room in the back line. Mufen immediately turned around, made a beeline for him there, and they managed to cause him some problems. The Brigitte inclusions here make it dangerous for Sombra to link it.
But now you used EMP and Primal Rage. You lose that fight. Now we get closer to the end, and guess what happens? You have to rally here to come out. They still have this Blizzard to play.
Oh no!
Big pulse bomb.
Halo tried to shield bash away from it, but it's pretty large range on that pulse bomb. Ana has a lot of problems just walking away from it because she lacks any other mobility. Myeonbong, oh, it's a one clip. Okay, Corey's warming up a little more now. Gets the D-shoot, it is an EMP, and he can't get away from Jerry, who finds him with the headshot. Arc, though, responds, swinging the flail as Jerry lands, and Color Hex's Blizzard goes bye-bye!
Are they gonna... I wonder if Boston switches off of this, because that is incredibly odd to lose both supports and then commit EMP Blizzard in. There's really no chance of them winning the fight at that moment in time. You throw the Blizzard into the void of Elivote, and Jerry just pops the EMP for whatever reason. You know, you had a great opportunity. If you hold those ultimates, you would have came back into this fight 4 ultimates to 2 with a great opportunity to win.
Uncle Matt is disappointed. Justice, Uprising, should I say? Self-destruct. Wall doesn't actually protect against it. The Uprising have to just back away a little bit more. The Transcendence now for Rain God. It's expired. Raw's hacked. He's going to have to stay and take a fair bit of damage. Jerry gets a lot of free ult charge. He translocates out once he fears he gets a stun again. High ground for Boston. Raw trying to take it away. Bomb thrown in there by movement. Doesn't get anything in his hacks at the moment, so he can't climb straight back in. Here's an EMP opportunity for Stratus. This one needs to stick. It needs to land. Especially with the rally in play, getting rid of all that might help. Here it is. He gets 5. Stratus sitting up on the payload. Elivote is de-suited though. And it looks as if the Justice weren't able to capitalize there on such a powerful ultimate.
They had the rally going and then they don't connect with the Ana, so you get a nano boost onto the Mei, keep the Mei alive.
Okay, Raw has Primal Rage, can't use it though. He has to hope for that EMP to expire before he gets back into the fight, and it has. It's AimGod though, drop on high. 2 crucial kills and the cleanup is easy. 13 seconds remain.
A lot of good holds here from the Justice just before Boston has a chance to take this second checkpoint. 7 seconds left. Can you even get a touch? Looks like Jerry behind enemy lines will be the one to do it.
Yeah, reveals himself. Oh, he actually had to translocate a little early. It's fine. Overtime still is activated. Wrecking Ball drops out on the point here. That's Fusions getting hacked pretty darn fast there. It seems like there's a bit of a disconnect there. Movement was supposed to keep him alive, but that's not where the defense matrix was thrown. Overtime is up. Stratus looks pleased indeed.
Much better play there from the Justice in map number 2. Stratus much more effective on the Sombra. 23 enemies hacked, 11 EMP enemies, but it's that one fight that Boston just throws, man. Like you had 2 players dead, already your supports, and then you throw the Blizzard for no apparent reason into the defense matrix, and you pop the EMP, when if you would have came back the next fight, you would have had like self-destruct EMP, supercharger, Blizzard, like all your major win condition ultimates you would have had, and all they would have had was rally and a transcendence in that moment of time, which, you know, one of those ultimates probably forces both of them out. You would have been in a good spot to at least get the payload over the line, but that's been the difference in the course of the Overwatch League for the first 2 seasons between teams that win games consistently and teams that, you know, kind of fluctuate up and down in the standings, is just minor plays like that. Those 2 ultimates set them back so far that they're not able to really make another great effort to push the card over the line.
And of course, as is now tradition since last week, apparently our hero draw will be happening on the Watchpoint post show live Sunday night after the Uprising versus Reign. So all the more reason to stick around and see just how our potatoes back in Los Angeles come up with our plans for next week. Okay, like I told you guys, if you watched your tier 2, you'd know that Stratus was a thorough aficionado. I'm going to milk that for so long, bro. No one's ever going to be able to tell me I don't watch it.
And no 76 on the other side. So we'll see how Boston goes about dealing with the Pharah play of Stratus. So, like we saw in Blizzard World earlier in our series in Toronto and Florida, we saw some Ashe play against the Pharah with no McCree or Widowmaker in the pool. I mean, right now, though, right, you have like... well, I was going to say you have the Batiste, not anymore.
Okay, Corey gets Myeonbong. That's no healing. And this is a matter of time now. Stratus He's got a taste for the blood and he wants some more. He'll have it.
Well, I mean, that was a defense, I guess, from Boston.
I
mean, nothing you could. I mean, there is something they could do, but I mean, once you lose both your supports there, and then the card is like already around the corner, not really many options. But Boston, I actually like the decision to not switch the composition, because you would have actually put yourself so far behind in terms of ultimate economy, and you knew that the Justice had to switch off of the Pharah and the Mercy anyway. They're going to stay on the Mercy for now, but they will have to probably switch off of it in time.
5 minutes in the bank. 5!
As it's a good decision to stay with this for Boston.
Corey now wants a bit of the high ground. Does he know what's behind Doré? He does now. Wall thrown up. They really want some privacy up there. Corey's determined to see what's going on. Now, this essentially splits Boston. The other half of the team had to commit, and they do. They get rid of Aim God, and Corey has to back out. He's lacking supports for the time being.
Early picks, though, is big for Boston. You know, early picks without using ultimates, massive, right? So now you can start building up some ultimates of your own. You'll end up with all 6 probably going into this next fight. And it seems crazy that, like, you know, potentially, like, you could get a hold here, but, you know, the cart has not moved at all since they got checkpoint B, really. You can see it on the screen, just moving backwards. You know, Boston, you're like 1 or 2 fights away from making this very interesting. And remind you, it's very difficult to get it over the line as well, getting close to B.
Jerry, very wary of using EMP remotely near Arc. Okay. See what Move can do with this. Tries to drop down, but Aim God gets him while he's in midair. Not much from that ultimate again. The Uprising throwing good ultimates after bad. Here's the Transcendence coming in, but Haley was already here with a body grenade. It's wasted. They at least managed to get the Batiste ultimate out, but the Watchers of Justice are punishing this poor ultimate usage. The fundamentals out the window, and so are the Uprising.
I mean, they're going to have to rush back in, but you still have EMP Blizzard here for Boston to make one last final defensive stand before potentially conceding the map to the Justice. But
that is, oh God. Yikes, man, that was a brutal fight. Okay, Color Hex needs to make sure this Blizzard doesn't fall into the Korean future Dyson. It cannot get eaten.
It's hard to get eaten if it's an EMP that connects onto the Diva first.
There's the EMP. It does connect onto Elevote. He went for the self-destruct, and all he got was a couple pets. He got the supercharger and the immortality build, but the Uprising already had the lead in this fight. What do the Washington Justice do now? Probably just back out. Aim God is on the other side of the map for whatever reason.
Yeah, you take the L in that fight, and you back out here. You set up. You don't want to make the same mistakes that Boston did, where you throw in some ultimates that you're just trying to get it across the line. It's not working out. You have to hold on to what you're building up.
I mean, Boston would love an early pick here to allow them to sort of snowball a team fight without having to use ultimates.
They need an early pick. They don't want one, they need one. In the position they're in, with Washington coming in, with a Primal Rage, EMP, Nano Boost, they need an early pick off.
Corey, Yunbong over the edge. Corey back into hiding. Pulse Bomb doesn't stick, and well, it looks like they know where Stratus is. Fusion's continually 180ing and firing behind him, but will he see this coming? Oh, can't get the hack. Stratus stands his ground for a little while, but in the meantime, Jerry's found Corey, and the Justice once more are down to 5, and yet they commit. Surely not.
Mitch, that's a big one. You know, they use Primal. They don't get anything with it. They're gonna have to back out, and then the clock starts to dwindle. And Color Hex, he was able to hold on to Blizzard. You start building closer towards an EMP, a self-destruct. You still have your Transcendence, right? So Stratus hits a big EMP, you can counter with the Transcendence back out on the point. Boston not out of this yet.
Can Stratus shut down Yunbong here? That is the question. Okay, Fusions does get hacked, but very little is done.
Who cares? Yeah, I mean,
Stratus. Okay, goes for the EMP. No, Yunbong's able to get the Transcendence. Oh dear. Stratus really needed to collect it on the Zenyatta, but it's hard. Now Color Hex going to go with the Blizzard and somehow throws it at a Diva. It doesn't get eaten, so Elevote is going to be put on ice for the time being, but Jerry's found. Corey gets 2. This was one of those individual performances that you just can't count on. Raw fighting 2 as well. The Justice, at the final moment, they dig deep and they find the answer. Now the Diva gets pushed away, movement. Oh, that's a sad state of affairs to be de-student there. The Washington Justice. Can they come up with a good 6-player EMP, but it just doesn't do enough.
Jerry never gets a chance to use that EMP in that final fight, using it in desperation there towards the end, but the Justice, they bounce back, they get a map win in map number 2. You see Stratus being the leader, trying to push this team forward, trying to get them to a spot where NYXL already is. So you can see 2-2. One run in the series actually. Eigenball coming up, and I kind of jumped ahead. But I did tell you though that I thought we would see 4 maps, and I'm right.
We get a minimum of 4 maps now, Matt. You're exactly right. Looked a little bit tough there for the Justice at the end of Havana until somehow, inexplicably, Corey gets 2 kills in quick succession. That's what Tracer gives you, the ability for those individuals to take ownership.
But you cannot win games consistently if you're if your game plan is to play them 50-50 and hope somebody pops off. Like hope Corey pops off.
I think the game plan was try and be coordinated with ultimates, and then that didn't work, and then Corey popped off. So
right.
I mean, it's not something you can count on, or maybe you can from Corey. It's kind of the reputation he's garnered himself thus far, but without McCree or Widowmaker in the pool, he has to do it on a different hero.
What's also interesting is that the Justice come out on Havana and catch them off guard with some Pharah play, and then they come out now on defense on Eigenball. On a map you know that they can play Pharah, and the other team is running, could run a Pharah, and they don't really have a counter for it.
What does Color Hex see that makes them want to switch?
Interesting. So I mean, maybe they feel more comfortable playing this kind of slower play style. Could be just kind of spy checking here for the Sombra and then go back and switch. But
I wonder what he was.
At this point, you've already switched the supports as well.
Is he afraid of the Zen?
On this? No, I mean, I think you're scared of potentially them coming in and diving, getting on like a Lucio, let's say, and then you're not able to speed on through. Very interesting, we bring Reaper in, as we have not seen Reaper that much at all this weekend, but if you want to really put pressure on a Roar, right, you get a stun or a halt, and then Reaper in play, and it's very difficult to keep him up.
Matt, this is just another composition that wants the Justice to engage on them.
But look, now Boston, with the Lucio, with the speed, have rotated it around and taken the point. Now this forces a scenario where Washington has to come to them, and that's exactly what they want.
Jerry's just chilling in the back line. Eventually, Stratus is able to deal with him. The Discord Orb goes a heck of a long way in assisting with that. Color Hex is hacked up. He's able to survive as he backs away here. The Uprising are in no real hurry. They've already got about 80% of capture progress, and it hasn't abated yet. Corey passes on through with a Pulse Bomb connection, but it's going to be staved off there by the Fortify of Fusions. And here's the EMP opportunity for Stratus. He lets it go, and that's all 6. But is it going to be enough? Aim God's taken down by Jerry. Cavalry amongst the Pigeons.
But look at all the armor that was already on as they ended up using the rally before that EMP kicks off. And now you've gotten 2 kills. The Primal going to wear off soon here from Roar. You're in a really bad spot if you're the Justice.
Matt, that's such a great point. See, shields will get removed by the EMP, but if you have armor, and Brigitte gives everybody armor, that will remain, even if your team gets EMP'd. And that extra durability, especially, by the way, against heroes like Sombra and Tracer, who each projectile, they fire a lot of small projectiles, right? Armor is more effective against damage that comes in small bits because it reduces every hit you take instead of the whole lot.
And that fight win is so cheap for the Boston Uprising, really just the rally that's invested. If you're the Justice, you have to go in, try and make a play, and try and get some of these ultimates out to even up the odds, because you allow the card to just keep moving around, not get any of these ultimates out, you're in trouble. That'll be Supercharger to kick things off, you caught Roar out of, and now you don't have to use anything else, right? You'll build it towards another rally, a Death Blossom, etc.
Man, even Mufin isn't really going aggressive. He's not trying to take high ground. He's not trying to force anyone off of the high ground. He's playing inside of his own team here.
The issue is, so here's kind of the scenario. The Justice can't just dive in with their tanks, right? They need to create a pick another way. If Corey doesn't do that, then they have to just kind of commit to the dive, which is exactly what Boston wants.
Mufin drops the bomb there. He was probably going to be caught either way. It looks like he decided last minute.
Look at the payload progress, though.
That's not where you want to resuit, to be fair.
And they have Blizzard and Sound Barrier.
Rally's already active. Look at all that armor everybody's getting. Okay, another EMP, but again, that armor's still there, so there needs to be a lot of damage to follow this up. And then the Sound Barrier comes after the EMP. Halo's able to avoid losing the use of his ultimate. Elivote gets Jerry. Boston makes some of the right moves here, but still, when it comes to the execution, they fall flat.
That is a big fight win. As Halo was holding off to the side, trying to get in, get the Sound Barrier on everybody, keep them up. Jerry was not able to stay alive, which this type of composition, Reaper is really your main source of close-range damage. So, Color Hex as well, I believe, ended up using a Blizzard during that. Don't know if like he was using it at the same time as the EMP and it got canceled out. I'll have to take a look.
Jerry able to get away from the pulse bomb. An ice block, there it is. Color Hex just says, no thank you, I'm not taking that damage. Still a Death Blossom here. Elivote needs to be very careful. Wants to be able to shut down Jerry's damage. And the Boston Uprising try and get close. They just want to stay out of line of sight as long as they possibly can. Jerry's found his target. Look at that, D.Va's gone. So now Death Blossom is far more deadly. Teleport is also available for Jerry should he want it, but Color Hex is knocked off. This is where it happens! The Primal Rage gets 2 huge kills. And Movement and Halo say, well, Geronimo, I guess.
And Color Hex's Blizzard was negated by that EMP in that previous fight. So perfect timing there from Stratus. Probably didn't even realize that they were going to kind of throw the Blizzard backwards. But take a look at this from Roar's POV. The Primal Rage is big. You know how dangerous it is when you're walking on this bridge where the enemy Winston is using the Primal. Nice job from Roar. Just kind of get in, get out.
That is quite nice. All right. Roar spots the Uprising taking the high ground. He quickly has to back away. Elivote takes a pass as well.
And the Justice needed that space, and they need to be so careful because they have the Lucio in play for Boston, so the rotations are much faster.
Look at this respect from Stratus. Doesn't want to get close, knows he can get that EMP in time without putting himself in danger. All right, he's going to go for it here. Good connection, 6 players. Still a 1-for-1 trade though in the fight. Stratus, who's he looking for? Myeonbong at the moment. Aimgod's able to finish off the kill. Eyes on Movement now. Fusions is the one that's caught in the mix of everything though, and he had no chance to use his supercharger. Wouldn't have wanted to anyway.
You almost don't mind though. Like, I guess it's a huge fight win for Washington, right? I know they're able to get some momentum here at the end, but that's exactly what you want if you're the Boston Uprising, because you still hold on to some key ultimates. You're going to have sound barriers, so you're free to use that because there's no EMP on the other side. And then you think with your Blizzard supercharged death, well, I mean, you get over the line here. I mean, it's so close to getting the payload to that second checkpoint.
Here's the rally. Boston, now they want to brawl. Fusion supercharger got taken down very early, but Roar, yeah, that's the danger for the Winston trying to dive in. Elivote's still let his rocket boost is available, so that poop would not have sent him into the abyss. Myeonbong is down. Elivote thinking about a self-destruct here, maybe in the middle of the Blizzard. It's Transcendence in play for Aimgod now. The timing was good, but it wasn't enough to save. He was frozen solid. Color Hex tries to catch Elivote on the way down, but is forced to go in towards the ice block as the bomb descends. Over time now, there are 4 or 5 players standing right now for the Washington Justice, but they're a little split.
Stratus with an EMP.
Another EMP. It's not the answer. Stratus leaves it.
You know, it was actually Halo makes a big play. He actually boots Roar back, and they're not able to contest. Very tough there for the Justice.
In his debut match, Halo keeps Boston alive here on Eichenwald.
And I want to also shout out Myeonbong on the Brigitte. What they decide to do there, Boston, is they know that Aimgod has the Transcendence and they want to force it out. And Myeonbong on the Brigitte, like, pretty much solo pushes all the way in and like bashes Aimgod, tries to get him to use it. He doesn't use the Transcendence in that moment, but putting that pressure was huge. And this should be just a clean-up fight win for the Washington Justice. An EMP and 1 elimination on the Jerry forces back the Boston Uprising.
They look reluctant to really try and clean up the fights. The 1 kill seemed to be enough for them. They wanted to back away. Roar is in though, so now they have to double down. Fortunately for them, it's not been punished. Roar's able to get rid of Myeonbong and get out.
I mean, is it even necessary though, right? You knew they were resetting. You used the Primal Rage there. Build up closer towards Transcendence.
You want to stagger them, maybe give them less time in the final fight, which is rapidly approaching.
I mean, you use the Primal to go in, maybe get a kill, you know, increase HP pool, just generate some more ult charge for your supports there, but you could have used it to potentially stay live for the point a little bit longer. That'll be Transcendence
had
early.
To be used. Aimgod would have gotten frozen if he didn't use that, Matt. He was immune to it after using the ability. There's going to be a Blizzard in play, though, and Aimgod's not going to be able to avoid that when the time comes. It's overtime. Movement. He's on the getaway plan, trying to move this cart, but now the Boston Uprising get completely split up. Arc is ready to receive here on the payload. Everyone throwing themselves in there. A Death Blossom attempt from Jerry goes painfully awry, and that's where the cart stops.
You see with the Brigitte, D.Va fight, Death Blossom goes back to combination of like a May wall from Color Hex and then also a boop from Halo that prevented them from getting back on and re-challenging at a moment where Roar was very close to a Primal, and then also, more importantly, Stratus had an EMP.
This is vintage Boston Uprising. Defense Pharah on Eichenwald. This takes me back.
To what?
Season 1! Yes!
Yeah, very long time ago.
So yeah, it's so long ago.
It's Paris Philly tomorrow. That should be interesting.
Hey.
Philly coming off all those wins. Paris coming off a bad loss.
Poco's out there trying to show off his French brethren. I'm here for it. Stick around for that one. Morris?
And Philly's just like, we're here so we don't get fined. We'd rather play from home.
Oh, they're here.
Funny, I chose like we flew 4 hours for this. Well, luckily for them, Philly is much closer to DC than it is Texas.
Yes, and in fairness, Philly have played basically all their games on the East Coast right now, so stop complaining. Right, so this Pharah on defense, Matt, can you talk us through it a bit?
Yeah, I mean, we like you mentioned, we've seen the defensive Pharah here for a very long time in Overwatch League. Even when Pharah is not really meta, you can see it here because look at the angles that you're playing if your Color Hex can play around this center pillar. Very difficult to get line of sight on the Pharah and good sight lines for the Pharah. It's just put down damage as players approach the point.
Elivote is getting bullied as he tries to do something about this Pharah Mercy combo. Again, he's the only one really on the Justice that can do anything about it, but in the meantime, Corey gets into the cookie jar. Myeonbong out of the picture now. Fusions is struggling. He fortified, but it wasn't enough to keep him alive. This might be that opening. Rufin tries to take to the sky. He gets rid of Roar. But Jerry is now down. Just one Sombra to rule them all. And that'll be a point capture here as the rest of the Uprising are bundled off the points.
So here's the issue with... okay, so the issue is really not the Pharah in this type of situation. Like, Pharah is going to put down the consistent damage, right? Damage at range, get people low. Who's finishing this off for Boston? Like, you don't have a Tracer, right? You don't have a Winston that's going to go in, make plays, right? Finish off weak opponents. You're playing an odd type of composition where you're playing one that's relying on just kind of sitting back, but then also you're playing around the Pharah who you need players to just dive in, like Pharah Tracer, right? That's such a devastating combination.
Oh, baby!
You're not able to do it. Now just get...
I think there had to be a defensive bionic grenade to keep moving in the game. Fusions is discorded right now. EMP comes in, they want to 5 players. Stratus has his, but he won't use it here. It looks like the Justice accept defeat in this engagement. They're happy to back away. They'll save these ultimates.
It's a big EMP there. Is the Justice now getting grouped up. They have their own EMP, and Stratus is actually kind of on enemy lines. So we'll see how Boston decides to play this. Boston, no support ults here. You kind of maybe like even sacrificing just like fusions onto the card.
Stratus is not one for subtlety at all, man. He just walks up and whips out the EMP, and you know what? It does the job just fine. You see some Sombras sneak in the back, some Sombras like to throw up a translocator. No, Stratus just charges in.
Mufin keeps the cart in its place for a little bit longer. He jumps off the side now, but good EMP there from Stratus. Is
this Dark Stratus? Is this evil Stratus? No longer joking?
Yeah.
No longer smiling?
I mean, look, the Justice in a good spot here. Both support ults coming in this next fight. You've already got the Discord Orb on the Fusions, trying to put some more damage on him at range.
Dangerous spot on the map, though, for the Justice. This bridge is treacherous. If they get knocked off...
No Primal, though. Like, not like a Lucio move or anything.
It's really just the whole... Corey. Oh! Oh, Corey! He was lying in wait for Jerry, and the trap was sprung. A pulse bomb to follow up. You love to see it. Color Hex fares no better once more. Corey springs forth. And the Uprising get decimated.
Remember when I said I didn't think you could consistently be like, oh, well, let's just let Corey pop off?
You did say that.
No.
Yep.
Maybe sometimes you're wrong. So Corey's able to go in, make plays, able to pick off Jerry, then pulse bomb another. A few final blows at the end of the fight. 11 final blows on the map now for Corey. That'll lead the Justice. But also, I think Stratus has really turned it up since map number 1.
Yeah.
Had a really rough map number 1. This map, 24 limbs, 0 deaths. Playing the Sombra, 42 enemies hacked, and making a real big difference.
Stratus playing like a Genji almost. Medium to long range, charge up that ultimate. That's all you need. Here comes an aggressive nano boost on towards Jerry, though, on the Justice. Just disengaged. That ultimate from Myeonbong goes to waste.
Yeah, I mean, what, are you trying to buy time? Did you expect them to engage?
10 seconds out of 3 minutes. Oh, well, that's the EMP. Fusions gets caught, but Fusion's going to send a bomb to the back line. No, the Justice already broke line of sight by pushing around a corner. Now the 1-for-1. Arc and Fusion's both down, but LiNkzr finds that kill. Aim God, a very timely transcendence indeed. Corey's pulse bomb doesn't find the mark this time, and Jerry finds his head. Up close and personal with a Reaper is not where you want to be, even if you Tracer. So now Stratus has to slow it down and back away.
Still trying to just kind of take and occupy this space. They don't want to let Boston push up and take that corner. The corner is really the difficult spot to get around. They've given up that position now. Stratus trying to farm another EMP. No ultimates to work with if the Justice. It's very like almost like a drive push, right? Maybe you're trying to farm up a Primal. You're trying to farm up another EMP. It's kind of what you're playing around.
That EMP looked effective. I mean, Corey doesn't die to Jerry.
Or you have Transcendence and Rally coming in.
It's time to push the cart though. 0.71 meters. The Uprising have to set their feet here. This is where it goes down. Another Transcendence comes in, and the Justice flood forward. A 4-player EMP. Gumborg's in trouble. At least gets a Nano Boost on towards Jerry. He's trying to stay alive desperately on the cart, but he couldn't find the damage. Nano Boost be dead. It's not enough. Move for now. The Desum. The Justice bring the hammer down.
Washington looks to have settled down after map number 1.
Settled. That's really what you're going to say.
They've settled down. They've calmed down a little bit. They've started to turn up as Corey has shown up big. Stratus as well, playing very good around their ultimates. And right there towards there's so many different compositions, right, that you can build like really strong like powerhouse damage dealer comps around Corey. But the Justice could easily start racking up some wins.
Such a curious map here to potentially bookend this series, and that's what the Justice want. That's to close it out on Horizon.
This is a scary map, though. I mean, there's a lot of weird compositions you could probably run here on Horizon. So, you know, Horizon without like a Bree or a Widow from the high ground on defense. Like, do you want to play like a dive? Do we see teams like eventually, or well, maybe you know, later in the weekend, move over to something like a bunker, right, with like a Bastion in play? Like, there's a lot of odd things you can throw out on this map. So, it looks like the Justice, they've decided that they want to keep going with this. And to be fair, until Boston stops it, go with it.
Yep.
I mean, they have not proven Boston that they've been able to really deal with Stratus on the Sombra and Corey on the Tracer outside of map number 1, but Control is a much different game type than the rest that we have in Overwatch League. So, looks like this is just a scouting thing from Boston, going out and seeing what's up, and then changes. So Fusion will not play the Wrecking Ball. He will the Sombra. Play Eureka. No, they want to play with the Reaper again. Interesting. So Reaper is good against Sombra. When Sombra hacks the Reaper, he doesn't really lose much of anything. Like, he's still able to do kind of what he functions to do, which is like close range, big damage. Not really relying on any of his abilities to do anything.
Yeah, he doesn't have Wraith Walk, so you know, it doesn't have that easy and free reload with the safety that comes along with it. But no one's safe on your team if you get EMP'd. So big front loader damage. That's what he has. Jerry though looking for something. Looks like that was a whip shot from Mark. The Justice aren't playing on the point. They know they've given the high ground, so just to stand on the point and get chunked down is not what they want to be doing. Corey has to recall there. And the Justice has sprung into action, so they're starting to move around this left side of the point. They have to find a way in. They've already given up 2 ticks, so eventually something's got to give. They can't just wait for something to happen. It has to be now. Corey, was that it? Pulse bomb? I don't think so. Straight into the vacuum, and Jerry getting rid of LiNkzr. Not a good start for the Justice at all. They still got 5 plays. They can still commit. It has to be a nano boost here on towards Raw, but Jerry is there to really work that Winston away. Stratus picks him up though. Bionic Grenade combined with a hack made it very hard for Reaper to do anything. He needs that self-sustain, the light steal. Aurora is down, and there's still a May on the point with a Blizzard Bat. This is looking good for Boston, and they'll take point A.
Yeah, you had no tanks to get on and contest there for the Justice towards the end. As Corey will get taken out here, is not really an opportunity for the Uprising to push the pace. Everybody already back up here for the Justice with the changes that happened to respawns a while ago. So, where do you stay on this yet again? I mean, there's high ground here. Like, Reaper's really, it's only really good if you're just kind of battering ram on in there. I guess running the Lucio and like being able to speed players in, you can get away with running the Reaper here.
Ultimately, the Uprising are going to have to play on the point out in the open. They're going to need to bait the Justice to come to them. They've been doing this the whole series so far. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks honestly awful.
Interesting. Milton's playing at a distance here. Because I think if the Uprising gets to the point, he wants to counter with a self-destruct. There it is.
EMP, self-destruct here. That's going to prevent the Justice from following up immediately, and that gives Colorhex time to find Corey. 1-for-1 trade. Raw into the backline, trying to make sure they can't use that amplification matrix by knocking the Uprising through it. But the sound barrier here makes it really impossible for Raw to find a kill there. Boston, decent start for them. They have a lower damage composition without Reaper working, so they need him to be in the mix. And that Blizzard was good, but Elivo's lucky. He steps into it after.
Is the Blizzard good? I mean, they just get the Blizzard onto the D.Va on the other side. So you just get Elivo.
But they don't even get the mini D.Va with it.
Huh?
Maybe spoke too soon, because they didn't even get the mini D.Va with it.
3 players rotate to the other side of the point. They're nowhere close to being affected by it. So maybe Boston thought they were up a little bit more, had a better chance of taking it. You think that 1 kill on the D.Va is massive to the point that it's point winning. But you only get 53% here on point B.
Corey, bit of armor to work with. That's now expired. The pulse bomb just to get rid of the supercharger. That wasn't really a miss. If he gets anything more than the charger, that's great. Didn't bog down though. Elivo gets aggressive. Is he moving desperately trying to use that defense matrix, but it's not enough to keep fusions alive. It's so hard to keep track of all these mobile threats the Justice are deploying.
They will leave with the D-Mech. Never mind, Aimgun takes him out with a headshot. So now it's another tough trip for Boston. You know you're walking into an EMP from Stratus. You don't have any ultimates, so it's not really that big of a deal. Jerry makes a switch off of Reaper and goes to Hanzo. Like, these are some like old kind of comps that Boston's bringing out. But I think you're going to see this week to week, though, of teams like experimenting with stuff that was meta, like in previous patches, and maybe you think would work yet again.
Look, Hanzo generates so much threat because it is a crapshoot sometimes against 2 sort of very mobile flanking DPS. He hits one of them in the head, all of a sudden, that's a huge high-value kill against a target that usually can get out of jail free at least once in a fight.
I mean, it's such a good scenario for Washington. You win this fight with just using the Primal Rage and just forcing Colorhex into a bad spot on the outside of the map. And now you have the EMP is just that threat, right? How many times have we seen EMP not really used? Just holding on to it is a big threat in terms of, you know, we don't want to run and use our ultimates because then we'll just get EMP'd and they'll just end up fighting back and, you know, taking the fight. So you can extend this a little bit longer, and Boston has to be so careful about how they play it.
Jerry's hoping for a Sonic arrow that can reveal Stratus's position. EMP on the 6, but the follow-up still needs to be there. And it is. Elivo gets one of Colorhex. Halo's still able to deploy that immortality field, which keeps them alive a little bit longer, but now they have no fusions. Not really much chance for them here. Another reset for Boston.
So the Hanzo's good for the damage, a lot like the Reaper was. It's just that there's not really, like, what is the idea with the ultimate, right? Like, are you kind of throwing it towards the spawn? Like, it's not, you don't really have, you have a halt to combo with it, but like the composition that Washington's playing is not one that's built around grouping,
I think it's literally for Sonic Arrow. I think that's a huge part of this. They're really scared of Stratus, and if Jerry can actually get the drop on Stratus, at least see where he is, even if he doesn't kill him like that, maybe that is benefiting him. Again, keeping tabs on Stratus, but needs to find a headshot. If he's not getting the kill on the Sombra, then the whole idea behind the Sonic Arrow kind of doesn't work out. That's a Blizzard there.
Blizzard doesn't get it.
Where is that supposed? It's defensive. Boston are still hoping the Justice come to them, but Washington are whiting up. They are disengaging after finding that first kill. Elivo goes in there. Arc keeping him alive with a lot of Inspire procs, and Corey in the thick of it. Doesn't have to commit though. Very clever. Look at his patience.
You know, what do you do here if you're Boston? They don't seem really like they want to switch up the comp dramatically, and you really can't here. I mean, with 30 seconds on the clock.
Matt, Jerry hasn't found him that pit. This Hanzo has not been working out for them at all.
No, I mean, it is, the Reaper really hasn't worked, and neither is the Hanzo here.
Now the Sonic Arrow, they do spot the Sombra. They know that was coming, but they can't stop it! Oh, it's like a tidal wave. They see it descending upon them, and they know it's over. It's inexorable. And the Washington Justice now get to use some of those ultimates they've been holding on to. And the Uprising aren't even there to see the end of the round. That must suck. You get early warning on the Sombra, still can't do anything.
I mean, look, they get 64% on point B. But if you're Boston, for even saying, look, we're going to have like this kind of theory crafting each week.
Yes.
If you're going to play around a Baptiste on the high ground with the Orisa, what value are you getting out of the Mei at that point as we approach the B checkpoint? You weren't really getting value out of the Blizzards. You're not able to separate anybody because with the high ground, like you put the wall down, you can still rotate. Now, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get away from that.
What's the wall supposed to do for you?
Well, that's the point. What is it?
Does it let you
so at that point, are you better
the
off?
high ground?
Are you better off if you're going to play around a Baptiste and play around the Orisa in the high ground? Play something that's just like a ton of like consistent damage up in the high ground.
Like what?
Like 76 Hanzo or something along those lines. Like it's a really weird kind of sounding comp, and you are. And that comp is pretty, the downside of that comp is that you're very prevalent to dive coming in on top of you. But at least that point, right, if you can get through that choke, you can start just pumping down damage and maybe have a Zen in play to kind of combat, you know, the EMP that would come through with like a Transcendence. Maybe that would have worked if you were Boston.
That's it, Monday, March 9th. Check out Contenders. One thing I love about it is that they have like a tournament structure every week. Differs from the Overwatch League in that regard. Trials Australia week 2. So youtube.com/Overwatch Contenders. I cast a curse Mind Freak last time, so I'm not going to do it again. You should tune in and watch. Enjoy some Overwatch action from down under. Right now we're up over.
The legendary Jerry Torbjorn. Can the Jerry Torbjorn send this series to a game 5? We're about to find out. Yeah, the far end. See, look, there. I wonder if Washington goes with this. This would just be tons of just front-loaded damage, right? Like nothing too flashy with the Pharah in the 76. You're just working down the shield, playing at a distance, forcing the Orisa back. You're going to be taking down the Torbjorn turret. Look, you've already forced out the ice block, right? So it's really just about control here.
What is Stratus worried about here? He is playing really close to. He's playing very passively still.
I mean, look, the Baptiste, Ana, both of them do pretty good damage. You're worried about like the Torbjorn turret from one of the side angles, halts into like ice.
They're probably the best supports for dealing with Pharah when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Corey's on the flank, and no one is daring to challenge him.
Yeah, you just get damage from both sides, and you can't really jump on the 76 because he's off on the other side. You have nothing to close the gap. You don't have a tank that can jump in and dive. You don't have Lucio for fast rotations.
I haven't seen a lot of Orisa from Washington, but that looked good. Stratus now gets to take his pick of the bunch. He finds Color Hex early on in that fight. Even though Elibo gets desuited, Jerry yanks back into formation, and Corey will finish the job. Nice sleep dart, flashy from Myunbong, but it doesn't change a darn thing. Washington get that point A, and now, they can smell the W.
I'm interested to see what Boston does on D. Stratus probably sticks on this because you'll have a barrage. Like, a 1 or 2K with a barrage probably makes a big difference here. You have Transcendence as well to combat the Blizzard that could potentially come down. The Justice only need 64% as well. This could be done very quickly.
Jerry might be looking to try and get a... Yep, finds Aim God there. Early pick. This really takes the wind out of Washington's sails, and Stratus almost stranded, had to use his concussive blast to get out of the side room, and then LiNkzr recommit. The Justice is feeling it.
Well, something we also, we obviously haven't talked about because we haven't seen in a while. A barrage to get a D-mech here for attack visor is big, and look at this. Now you don't have the defense matrix for the barrage on the backside of the point.
Yeah, and look, desperately, you saw Mookin trying to turn around and protect his team. Stratus wasn't able to find too much at all with that barrage, but Corey turns up. Helix Rocket meet Fusions. Corey has a lot of space to work with here, but needs to be careful. I know Mookin's going to be looking for him. Very defensive play from Boston Uprising. Steven Mookin doesn't want to commit onto any one target, and this means Corey gets to reign supreme. Fusion's now switching over to the Wrecking Ball. Biotic Grenade catches onto Corey, so he has to play safe behind the pillar, and he heads out the front door as well. Aim God is down. Healing a little bit limited right now for Washington. It's just Ark, and he is pocketing the heck out of Corey. Color Hex trying to harass in the back line. Nice rotation there from Raw to keep the Mercy alive, but there has to be kills, and here they come. Fusion's down. Corey catches Color Hex on his way through. It's going to be an EMP to catch on to both tanks, but Corey is still dishing the damage. Helix Rocket Defiant Jerry, and he'll take them all down. Once more, Corey decides to play the game, and and all of their opponents fall down. The Washington Justice go to their second victory, this time in front of a heck of a crowd.
Corey on that 76 towards the end.